Goedemiddag. Ik heb weer een stukje online voor jullie voorbereid. Hopelijk dit keer wel met een zichtbare PowerPoint. En dan praat het ook wat makkelijker. En dat is misschien ook wat makkelijker terugkijken. Vandaag wil ik het hebben met jullie over doelen stellen gaan. En net als de vorige keer ga ik ook weer verder in het Engels. So, V stays up to date on what we're doing. So, today's lesson is about setting goals. I'll just give you a quick little tips and insights on how to create a good goal for yourself. So, you're now currently in the progress of getting one-on-ones about your progression with V, and it might happen or might occur to you that you want to set a good goal for yourself for the next half of the season or the next period coming up. Last lesson we talked about sprints, so it's good to have a couple of short-term goals for yourself, what you try to achieve, and as long as you keep racking up and keep stacking up those short-term goals, in a matter of months you'll make a giant leap and a big amount of progression. So just keep stacking those small goals, keep doing those sprints, and then you end up with a big result. First thing you do if you want to set a new goal for yourself is to find out which domain of your life the goal applies to. And Rugby Netherlands and also a lot of the academies use the system of these 5 areas. Either your goal is a mental goal, a physical goal, a technical goal, a tactical goal, or a life goal of lifestyle goal. So let me break down the difference. A mental goal is about your mental well-being or your mental toughness, your ability to cope with setbacks or the ability to be headstrong during games. Physical is your physical ability, so your strength, your pliability, your flexibility, your speed, your quickness, your high alertness. So everything that has to do with the body is in the area of physical. Technical is how you execute certain skills, kicking, catching, passing, tackling, or getting up, simple technical stuff. Tactical is, of course, in the bigger picture. So what if my opponent does this, what do I do? If I do this and my opponent reacts in a certain way, what is my reaction? So tactical is always a slightly bigger picture. And lifestyle can be in the area of nutrition, but also sleep. I want to improve my sleep, or I want to improve my spiritual well-being, so my balance in life. There's also lifestyle goals. Or I want to increase my motivation to I'm looking for the right word. I want to increase my motivation to put myself more in touch with my goals. So for instance, a lifestyle choice or lifestyle goal could be to watch more professional rugby, watch more professional women's rugby, to get your motivations up and to get that hunger, sort of to say. So after you're clarified on which domain your goal is or should be, it's usually good that you can have multiple goals at the same time. It's no problem. But in due to be efficient, I would not recommend to have 2 goals in one domain at the same time. So it's very logical, but also very doable to have, for instance, the mental and tactical goal to each other, but not 2 mental goals or 2 technical goals at the same time. Of course, there is relation between these goals, or between these domains, and it's highly possible that an improvement in one area can have an effect on the other. So next up, if you've cleared which domain your goal is, what usually helps out to set the goal is to ask yourself the wonder question. So in a perfect world, what would it look like? For instance, if you have a goal around technical, okay, say that you live in a perfect world, what would your tackling look like? Okay, it would all be dominant and would never miss, etc. So from asking that wonder question, we sort of get a picture of what the end result should look like. And if you have a picture of what the end result like, you're able to tape stack back. Yeah? So the wonder question helps you paint a picture, help to paint the image of what your end goal is. The more details you can put in your wonder question, so the more specific you can come, your wonder question usually helps. So the more the small amounts of little nooks and crannies we can fill out with a wonder question, the better it works for us. Excuse me. So after the wonder question, we still end up with the situation that we might not know what our current situation is. So we know where we want to go, we know what I want it to look like, but we don't know where we are. So what we'd be needing to set in place for that are observations. Yeah, you can ask friends, you can even ask fellow sub girls if they're not having a game, or injured players or parents, etc., or family members, or you can do it yourself from your own clips of games of games you played in the past. But you need data, you need observation. So, and the observation is clearly to put a stat line down. So, okay, this is what's happening now. And observations can be more dynamic than just games. For instance, if you have a lifestyle goal, you can fill in your sleeping routine yourself, but you could also have your significant other or your partner observe what your sleeping habits are. You get a more objective and maybe a more confronting picture. So first step is we ask the wonder question. Second step is that we have observations. Third step is that we take the wonder goal, the wonder picture and the observations, and we combine them, and then we distill our goal. Yeah, and we ask ourselves certain questions. So what are key performance indicators? So what are KPIs? So what is actually important to progress on this goal? For instance, if it's sleep, it's a good sleeping location. So is my bed in order, etc. So what is essential? What is the essence? What is optional? So what matters, but only as a slight effect. Yeah. If we use the bed analogy again, so the bed has to be good, has to be decent. There also has to be a dark room, so we have to have the right curtains. But in some cases, the temperature for some people doesn't really matter. You have to find out for yourself. So what is essential for me? What is optional for me? Well, I'm not going to bore you too much with this because I think you know this. So after you find out, you distilled what is essential and non-essential out of your observations and about your dream goal or your wonder goal, yeah, you end up with a SMART goal. So you use all these components, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, to set a clear goal for yourself. But a lot of you girls are in college or in university, and SMART goal is something that we cannot get around of when you're in school. So, but after we have done our SMART goals, we're not ready yet, because there are some important steps that we have to take. So one of the important steps we have to take is that we have to break it down to little steps, and also in all these small steps has to be smart as well. They all have to be smart components. And why do we need to break it down? There basically are two main reasons why we need to break it down. The first off, this makes us adaptable. So if we break our goals down into smaller sections, into smaller goals, if we get setback, we are able to steer around the setback. We're able to adjust our course and still keep progressing. So if we have setback on a large goal, it usually means that the goal cannot be attained and that we are in a very negative state of mind. So if we do a lot of smaller goals, like for instance the analogy I used earlier, like a small sprint. So if you do a lot of small sprints, we're able to sprint around a certain object or sprint around a certain obstacle in our path. So that's why the chameleon is there. So our chameleon can adapt. So if you break it down, we have the ability to adapt. The second part why it's important to have smaller goals is that we give ourselves the option to celebrate more. So because we have smaller in between goals, we have smaller steps. Every time we get somewhere, we get a little bit of a success, and that success is key into changing behavior. So every time we make a big goal into smaller goals, we give ourselves more opportunities to celebrate. And that is important because if you want to change behavior, there is positive reinforcements needed for that. So we need a goal to change our behavior. So if we cut down our big goal to smaller sections and we implement moments of success, so we celebrate our success, yeah, and that can be anything, can be having a trip with friends, having buy yourself a new item, or whatever works for you, whatever helps you. But you need that positive reinforcement to change behavior. So if you did something positive, reward yourself. The only danger in that is that if we overcompensate, the reward becomes too big. Yeah, the reward itself becomes the reason why we do it. That's something you want to avoid, because if you then take away reward, there's no more motivation left to do it. So for instance, I do a certain job because I like it, and I also get paid a lot of money for it. Then if the money is taken away, it's also most likely that my motivation to do it because I like it is gone as well. So if we overcompensate with our celebration, that's actually a great way to lose the motivation. But then again, we need positive reinforcement to change behavior. And a lot of you girls, I've noticed this with my experiences, you receive as soon as we reach a certain goal, as we get to a certain point in where we want to be, the immediate initial response is, okay, now the next thing, which is good, makes us eager, makes us look like we are very involved with our development. Please, and I cannot emphasize this enough, please take a little moment to reward yourself and to compliment yourself, because this way we make stronger connections in our brain that what we are doing, our behavior, what we are showing is positive behavior, and that we are more likely to do it in the future as well. So again, I'm not still completely finished with looking at the stuff you send in over the email to of you girls. I will make sure to do that as quickly as possible. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me on the app or an email. And I wish you girls all the best in this upcoming holiday season. Thank you for your attention.